What's up, Bears fans?
And welcome to Ursinus College Sports Network. I'm your co-host, James Schold.
And I'm your co-host, Steve Weissman. We had another great weekend of Bears sports, which we will go over in this past week's recap.
Following this past week's recap, we have interviews with Ethan Belleville of football and Katie Cressman of volleyball.
All right, Bears fans, let's get right into it.
Let's go.
We present to you Sports on Main.
The 14th ranked Bears field hockey team took care of business on Saturday, defeating Centennial Conference opponent McDaniel College 2-0. Jordan Olsch and the defense were stout once again, forcing their second consecutive shutout, holding the Green Terror to 0 shots on the afternoon. The Bears finished with advantages in shots 10-0 and penalty corners 15-0. To cap off last night, the 17th ranked Fords of Haverford College traveled to Snell Field to take on our 14th ranked field hockey team. The game went into the fourth scoreless until about 5 minutes in, where Jamie Mayer assisted Ellie Bruggeman to get her 8th goal of the season from a Laura Rothschild corner. Shortly after that, the Bears put the game away with a Jordan Moore goal assisted again by Ellie Bruggeman, which led to your final, Ursinus 2, Haverford 0. Saturday, the Bears will celebrate Senior Day at noon against the Bullets of Gettysburg College.
The football team traveled to Moravian Saturday afternoon. Ursinus played an all-around fantastic game and were able to come out with a 34-7 victory. Junior quarterback Jack Pazinska finished the day 16 of 26 for 198 yards as well as tossing 2 touchdown passes. Senior running back Sam Ragland powered the Bears' running game with 146 yards on 21 carries and 1 touchdown. The Bears' defense was led by junior defensive lineman Ethan Belleville, who had a team-high 8 tackles, 1 solo, and 1 tackle for loss. Junior linebacker Liam Tatlongharry added 6 tackles, 2 of which being solos, and a half of a tackle for loss. The Bears will return to action on Saturday, October 30th, as they will host Gettysburg for homecoming at 1 p.m. Yesterday, my co-host here, Steve Weissman, was fortunate enough to catch up with defensive lineman Ethan Belleville to talk about his performance last Saturday against Moravian and this weekend's matchup against Gettysburg. Here's what he had to say.
What's up, Bears fans? I'm Steve Weissman here with starting D lineman of the football team, Ethan Belleville. How's it going, Ethan?
Doing fantastic tonight, Steve. How you doing yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this interview. So, I'm just going to jump right into it. Got a couple questions for you. Be nice and easy. Get you out of here quickly. So, you personally have been racking up the stats as of late. You have 14 total tackles, 3.5 TFLs, a sack, and a forced fumble in the last 2 weeks just alone. What have you been doing yourself that have made things start to click for you?
I feel like after we took a bad loss to Susquehanna, I feel like we kind of just lost our swagger for a second, a little bit of confidence, especially coming off a bye, coming off a bad loss. We really just wanted to get back in, get the right swing of things. So I think it's a big energy thing for the team when we all come together. I feel their energy, they feel mine, and we play better that way.
Yeah, you guys really build off of each other's energy and just get it going.
Most
So,
definitely.
Ethan, I have to say, you are not the biggest guy yourself. And this Gettysburg O-line that you guys are going up against this weekend, they are massive with multiple starters being north of 300 pounds.
Mhm.
How are you able to use your small size to your advantage and navigate through the behemoths of the Bullets O-line to get into the backfield?
Mhm. Yeah, man, I love it. I love being the small guy on the D-line. People will say so to me, especially the tackles on the other team. I love it, but I try and focus on my strengths: speed, agility, quickness, being smart. And when you really focus on those, a lot of those guys, those big 300-pounders, they've never had to block a guy like me. And that's it. Just use my advantages really and change it up.
Yeah, I mean, you've been hearing it since you started playing football. Low man always wins.
Mhm.
All right, last question. The Bears defense has actually been living up to the hype the past couple of weeks after having a couple of uncharacteristically rough weeks in the middle of the season.
Mhm.
So the past couple of weeks, you've been forcing a ton of turnovers, only allowing 21 total points in the last 2 weeks, and you're really allowing your offense to hold the tempo of each game. What
Mhm.
adjustments did you guys make in the middle of the season, and what specifically do you guys have to do this weekend to keep the balanced bullets offense in check?
As far as adjustments that we made, I feel like from an early stage, we decided that our defense was going to be a nasty group that dictated games, especially on the D line. We really want our D-line to be a focal, strong point of our defense, and I feel like we've been doing that. Guys relying on each other, just getting to the ball. We see our coach Dev, our D coordinator, always says, man, get to the ball with a bad attitude and pull it out, get the ball. So here, every time we take the field, you hear one guy or another telling the whole team, get the ball out, let's get the ball. So that in terms of adjustments. But this week, Gettysburg, we're just going to stick to the game plan, do what we do right, do what we do best, fly around the ball on defense, make plays in the kicking game, and hopefully make some explosive plays on offense. That's the recipe for success against Gettysburg this week.
Yes, sir. That sounds good. You really just got to keep aggressive and stick to the game plan.
Most definitely.
All right. Thank you so much, Ethan, for coming out and doing this with me. I know you're a busy guy, bio major, always have a ton of work. I know you just came from practice. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Steve.
All right. Back to the studio. Men's soccer took a tough 1-0 loss to conference foe Franklin and Marshall on Saturday at Patterson Field after being down a man for 85 minutes of the game. It was senior day, and the Bears did everything that they could to overcome this one-man deficit to try and take down the Dips. Goalie Tyler Lewin had 7 saves on the day, and Aiden O'Malley had the Bears' lone shot on goal. Yesterday, the men's soccer team traveled to Reading, Pennsylvania for an out-of-conference matchup with Penn State Berks. It was a scoreless first half that saw a lot of offensive opportunities for the Bears, but none that they could capitalize on. The Bears finally got the scoring going in the 55th minute when Jack Schmidt sent a crossover to Tommy Mollis, who was able to find the back of the net. A little more than 10 minutes later, Aiden O'Malley was able to capitalize on a turnover and send an unassisted strike to the back of the net, taking a 2-0 lead. The Nittany Lions were able to net a goal with 5 seconds left, but it was too little too late as the Bears won 2-1. The Bears will also travel to McDaniel College on Saturday in their final regular season game against the Green Terror.
The Bears women's soccer team also had senior day on Saturday against Franklin and Marshall, unfortunately falling 5-0. The Bears were getting a good amount of offensive looks with 10 total shots, but were just unfortunately unable to find the back of the net. Izzy Alaco led the Bears with 5 shots, 3 of which being on goal, and goalie Maddie Now had 5 saves. Last night, the women's soccer team got their first conference win since 2018 in a 2-1 win over Muhlenberg College. Izzy Alaco tied the game at 1 apiece with an unassisted goal, the first of her collegiate career. Gracia DiBianco extended the lead to 2-1 with a goal assisted by Skylar Knapp. This is DiBianco's first goal of her collegiate career, as well as Knapp's first of the season. Mandy Caridio and her 5 saves, along with the Bears' defense, were able to hold the Mules scoreless in the second half, securing the victory 2-1. The Bears will travel to Westminster, Maryland on Saturday to take on the 17th-ranked Green Terror of McDaniel College.
The Bears volleyball team took on McDaniel College in the first of 2 matchups on Saturday afternoon, coming away with a victory 3-2. Caroline Sherman led the Bears offense with 16 kills, along with Claire Worley and Rachel Bernard, who combined for 42 assists. Katie Cressman finished with a double-double totaling 15 kills and 12 digs. In their second match of the day against Goucher College, the Bears were able to capitalize on their momentum from the previous match. The Bears came away with a second victory on the day, 3-1. Claire Worley had 33 assists, and Katie Cressman, Caroline Sherman, and Haley Spots combined for 35 kills.
Also, last night, the women's volleyball team took on Haverford at Helfrich Hall. The Bears fought hard, but were unable to secure a set win, falling 3-0, 25-21, 25-19, and 25-16. Some notable stats from the game, however, were Katie Cressman and Caroline Sherman, who both finished with 7 kills. The Bears will take the volleyball court again this Saturday at noon for their homecoming game against the Bullets of Gettysburg. Yesterday, before the game against Muhlenberg, I was able to catch up with Katie Cressman to talk to her about last weekend's performance as well as the games ahead. Here's what she had to say.
How's it going, Bears fans? James Schultz here, Sinus College Sports Network, with starting outside hitter for the Bears volleyball team, Katie Cressman. Katie, how are we doing today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. We're actually here to talk about the games on Saturday, a win over McDaniel 3-2, and a win over Goucher College 3-1. So this was the first team sweep since opening weekend where we won both games, and actually the first win over McDaniel in 9 years. So talk about what goes into like staying in it and up for both games.
Well, honestly, this weekend we started out a little bit slow. We dropped early in the first set against McDaniel. We ended up down pretty deep. It was like 12-4 or something like that at one point.
Mhm.
And I remember my coach calling a timeout, and she brought us all in and she kind of just said, like, you guys deserve to be here. You deserve to be competing with this team, and you're better than this team. And then we went out on the court together and something just clicked. And then from then on out, there wasn't really any roller coaster moves. We just decided that we were going to win that game, and we were going to win the game after that game. I feel like it just involves us staying together as a team. When we show up and we play as like one unit instead of like 6 individuals on the court, not many people can stop us. And like that's exactly what happened this weekend. And it was a really, really good feeling.
Yeah, no, it definitely is just to see things like, finally click a little bit and, all those practices, to know that they're paying off. Another performance to mention from Saturday was Caroline Sherman. So she had 16 kills in game 1 and 13 in game 2. So you're a junior now. So how does it feel for you, an upperclassman, to be seeing an underclassman perform so well?
It feels absolutely awesome. Caroline, we knew getting her freshman year, like her first year coming in, that she was going to be like a huge addition to Ursinus volleyball. All of us, all of the underclassmen have been. And when Caroline came in preseason, she was like passing the run test on the first day and just absolutely killing the ball in like every way, shape, and form. And she ended up winning like preseason player of the year. So we knew she had like a lot of potential. And every game since, she's gotten better and better. But we always like joked around. We were like, Caroline, like there's a breakthrough game coming for you. Like we know there's a breakthrough game. And during McDaniel, actually, she had an incredible week of practice leading up to it. And every single one of us was like, Caroline, this is your game. I can feel it. This is your game. Like I just know it. And it was. And like this was her breakthrough game. And I don't see her looking back anytime soon and not having another breakthrough game, but she absolutely killed it. And it just feels awesome to be an upperclassman seeing that. It feels exciting because like it gives underclassmen confidence
Mhm.
that they can do it. And like she can do this every game.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely as an underclassman, like seeing yourself having that like coming out party, that like, that breakout game that you're talking about, seeing things finally work for you. It's like, wow, I can actually do this. And it helps out and moves things a lot in the right direction for your team. But speaking of moving in the right direction, with the 2 wins on Saturday, you guys have 3 coming up this weekend to wrap up the season. So how do you think those 2 games from last weekend are going to like propel you guys to, keep that momentum going that you talked about?
Momentum is one of the biggest factors in volleyball. It can change the game from winning 25-24 to winning 25-2. So I think carrying momentum from last weekend is going to be huge. There's 3 really tough games this week. We have 2 of the toughest conference games coming up this weekend, but we just had a big upset against McDaniel. And I think our main attitude is just doing the same thing this next week. And I think another thing that we talked about as a team was being comfortable with the idea of beating teams when we're the underdog in the situation, like being comfortable with winning. And it felt really, really good to be comfortable with winning a game that we weren't necessarily expecting to win this weekend. And I think that feeling isn't something we're ready to let go of. So I think talking about propelling into this weekend, we're kind of striving for that same feeling of like being the underdog and like upsetting teams.
Yeah, at first, in order to earn respect, you got to get it first. So,
Yeah.
you got to buy into the underdog mentality. And I love that you guys are doing that as a team and as a whole. Katie, I want to wish you the best of luck this weekend. The rest of the season wrapping up. I want to wish you the best of luck with everything and great job this weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now for this weekend's homecoming preview.
The field hockey team will kick off homecoming weekend at noon against Gettysburg. They'll be celebrating Senior Day.
Also at noon, the women's soccer team is traveling to McDaniel College to take on the Green Terror.
At noon at Helfrich Hall, the volleyball team will be taking on Gettysburg.
Then, at 1 o'clock, the football team will be taking Patterson Field to face Gettysburg College.
Following that, the cross-country team travels to Baltimore, Maryland at Hopkins for the conference championships.
Lastly, after the women's soccer game, the men's soccer team is traveling to McDaniel College to take on the Green Terror at 3.
And that just about wraps up everything we have here for this week's episode of Sports on Main.
One last thing before we go, make sure to follow all of our social medias, and the links are in the description below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to tune in next Thursday at 7:30 for our next episode.
From all of us here at Ursinus College Sports Network, I'm your co-host, James Schuld.
And I'm Steve Weissman.
And as always,
Go Bears!